Luka Bogavac just got to Chapel Hill, and he's already handing out backpacks to kids, hanging out with his teammates, having a good time. Chemistry concerns with him getting to campus late in the game? Forget about it.
This is Tyler Hansbrough, and you're listening to Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Monday, August 18th, 2025. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Schade. You're joining me at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I want to thank you for making us your first listen or watch to get your Monday going the right way. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Hey, special shout out to all the everydayers with us here today. All the great members of the Locked On Tar Heels, I almost said Locked On College Basketball Discord. We'd love to see you there, but the Locked On Tar Heels Discord is what I mean right now. And of course, our Locked On Tar Heels insiders. So glad to be with all of you today to get this Monday going. By the way, got a new microphone going today for those of you watching. You see it there on YouTube. If you're listening, you hear it. I'd love to know, how's it sound? You guys like it? You might not even notice a difference, and that's fine. But I do this every day, and so I want to make sure I'm giving you the best possible equipment and sound I possibly can. All right, here's where we're headed on the show today. Luka Bogavac just got to campus Wednesday, as did Ivan Matlakovich, and he's already settling in. Heck, he hadn't even been there a week yet. That's great news. But now that these guys are both on campus, Carolina has released the official roster, jersey numbers, players, heights, weights, all of that. You wanted a bigger Tar Heel team? You got it. We're going to unpack that. And oh, by the way, 2 weeks from today is Labor Day, which also means 2 weeks from today is the first football game of the season. I don't know how that's real, and it's already here, but it is crazy. Let's dive right back in. I have today, Monday, is my kid's first day of school. My son's going into fourth grade. This is his Dude Perfect backpack that he's using. Pretty fly, if you're asking me. I just thought, Luca was out there handing out backpacks last week, so I thought I'd just rock his backpack on the show today. So I'm going to put it on, strap it up. You got to go tight, right? When you're wearing a backpack, got to take care of your back and do it. But man, so over the weekend, the Carolina social media accounts put out some pictures of the guys doing like a backpack handout event, like a school supplies event. And you saw multiple people, and right there, right in the thick of all of it, is Luka Bogavac. And let me say Ivan Matlakovich as well. And I don't know about you, but I just thought, holy smokes, these guys just got to campus Wednesday. And they've had a couple days to get settled in, but here they are, already indoctrinated into this team, hanging out, being part of team activities, and just getting the ball rolling. And I guess I don't know what else you would do, but I love to see them already part of this team, already accepted, already all of that. And what it brings up that I want to talk about today is all summer long, one of the biggest conversations we've had is this. Hey, if Luka's arrival keeps getting delayed, is that going to affect team chemistry on and or off the court? I had said so much this summer. I wish he had been able to be at camp, but as long as he came before the Outer Banks trip, I would be good. Well, obviously we know, didn't make it for camp. Either session of that, didn't make it for the Outer Banks trip. That was a couple weekends ago. And so we talked about it on the show at that point, like, man, that's a bummer, because those are moments, how it is when you go off on a trip with people. That's where you forge depth of relationship that doesn't happen in other settings, in other contexts. And so both Luka and Ivan missed out on that, and that's a bummer. But here's the thing. When we ask ourselves the questions, is this going to affect chemistry? On court, can't be even remotely begin to answer that. But at least from an off the court chemistry standpoint, everything seems to be all guns blazing in a good way. And that's good news for me. I want to lay out 4 reasons why I believe that is so. The early returns, I guess I should say, are that the off-court chemistry is just fine. Thank you very much. So here's number 1. this backpack event over the weekend. If you didn't see it, go check out Carolina basketball social media, Twitter, Instagram, whatever it is. It looks to be an event where they're bringing in elementary school kids and handing out backpacks and other school supplies and things like that. Several the basketball players are in and do it. You notice Jarin Stevenson and Luca and Caleb Wilson and Ivan Matlakovich and other guys. And I mean, it again, just crazy that this quick turnaround, and they're already doing a community event, right? Like, that's so cool. And so I hope you've seen this picture. This is the one where I was like, these dudes like each other. This is going to be a fun team. Luca is handing a little girl a backpack and giving her a high five. And in the background, you see Caleb Wilson. Like, we all know at this point, Caleb Wilson is gregarious. He's fun, life of the party. He's giving this look where he is quite hilariously incredulous at the situation. Clearly, like, I can't believe this girl is taking Luca's backpack instead of mine, or whatever it is. And I guess I mentioned this maybe on Friday's show, and somebody commented on, or no, it was on Twitter. I had talked about this and somebody commented on it. No. Caleb's looking at something behind Luka Bogavac. I was like, all right, fine, whatever. Well, if you go look at the Instagram version of this, Caleb actually responds to the Carolina tweet, or to the Carolina post of it, and says, I was a little frustrated when she chose Luca's bag over mine. So clearly he's looking incredulously at Luca like, I can't believe this is happening. And it's even funnier because John Holbrook hops into the comments as well, and he's giving Caleb a hard time, and he says nobody wanted Caleb's backpacks. Caleb responds, he's like, look at the last picture, people wanted my backpack. So it's just, when teammates are comfortable enough to give each other a hard time on social media, good-naturedly, obviously, man, that to me is a glaring sign of good chemistry. And it's so funny, this picture, because you see Caleb Wilson's look at Luca like, come on, man. Like, and remember, this dude's been in Chapel Hill 72 hours. That's it. But in the background, you can see Jarin Stevenson. You can see Elijah Davis. They're both just laughing at this whole situation. Man, I'm telling you, it's a sign of good chemistry off the court for this team. Number two reason I am now less concerned about the off the court chemistry. It helps that it wasn't just Luka coming by himself. It helps that you've got two players coming in together, Luka Bogavac and Ivan Matlakovich. So instead of it being the situation where, yo, fellas, we got our squad, we got everything figured out, and here comes this one new dude from Montenegro. No. It's instead, hey, we've got our team, but we know there's this other guy coming, and now this other guy, and now Ivan Matlakovich coming. So we need to stop and look at this and reevaluate our entire team and our dynamics and how we accept not just the new kid in town, but the new kids in town. I just think when it's multiple guys like that, it forces you to take another look at our team dynamic and all of that. And so I think this is great news. Number three reason I'm now less worried about the off the court chemistry side of things. It wasn't a surprise. Yes, the Ivan Matlakovich one was a late in the game situation, and maybe that was a little bit, but the team has known for a long time that Luca is coming. You know, when that was going to be, maybe that was the surprise or the ongoing stretched out thing, but they've been able to communicate with him. They've been able to prepare for what it will mean for them on the court, right? Like, if I'm somebody who plays the wing, maybe my minutes are going to be cut a little bit when Luca comes. If I'm somebody that plays the two and we're going big, maybe my minutes will be cut a little bit when Luca gets it, right? Like, you're processing that. The team has been able to prepare for what it will mean off the court. Okay, guys, you know, if I'm Seth Trimble, I'm getting everyone together and say, look, fellas, we've got Luka Bogavac coming from Montenegro. We have to welcome him well because we want to be a team. We want our new guy to feel welcome and loved and accepted and part of what we're doing. And so when he gets here, we're going to do X, Y, and Z to help make sure we accomplish that, right? That's what I mean by they've been able to prepare for what it's going to mean off the court for him to come. And then fourthly, the reason we kind of talked about this on Friday as well, but I want to say it differently now, is that the fourth reason I'm not concerned about the off the court chemistry is because it helps that Luca is clearly all in. It would be easy to show up and say, you know what, I got some jet lag. Let me not show up for this backpack thing on Saturday. Blah, 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 blah. No. This dude, and Ivan too. I don't want to leave Ivan. I'm just talking more about Luca because he's been this white whale we've been waiting on for so long this summer. But both of these guys are they're invested, they want to do the things, right? And so it's one thing for the coaching staff and the existing roster to want to welcome them well, but you have to allow yourself to be welcomed well, right? Does that make sense? It's a street that goes both ways. And so for Luca, for Ivan to say, hey, I'm going to dive headfirst into being a good teammate and being here, man, that helps it all as well. And so I don't know if you're getting these same vibes, man. I just feel very good about the team chemistry that is happening and that will continue to happen as these guys all get to know each other even more capably. I just think it's going to be a lot of fun. Now, obviously, I'm specifically speaking about the off the court side of it, but do not miss the ways in which off the court relationships benefit and enhance a team's on the court capability. So that is going to be a critical part of this as well. And obviously we got to wait and see how the on the court basketball product fits well together. All that to come though, as we carry on through the offseason. Now, Carolina needed to get bigger for this basketball season. And boy, did they achieve that with flying colors. The roster is out. We'll start to unpack it coming up in just a second. Right after I tell you about Drip Drop. If you're trying to stay on top of your routine, whether that's workouts or long days on campus or staying focused through back-to-back classes, today's the first day of class. Congratulations, Tar Heels. Hydration is where it all starts, and that's where Drip Drop comes in. Drip Drop is a doctor-developed and scientifically proven for fast hydration. It uses the perfect balance of sodium electrolytes and glucose to help your body absorb fluids quickly, delivering 3 times the electrolytes and half the sugar of a leading sports drink. My go-to flavor the last couple days has been this lemon lime that I got out of my variety pack. It's 0 sugar. I like that. I've been trying to drink 0 sugar drinks, so I'm just going to pour it on in this water while we're talking, stir it up. You're going to hear the clinking of the glass. That's how you know it's going to be good. And I'm going to let this lemon lime drip drop hydrate me as we go throughout the rest of the show because my voice is a little bit parched and I need it. Oh, that's good, man. It just that lemon lime, it's so refreshing. It's a go-to game changer for after a workout on those extra busy days, like today, the first day of school. I've been trying to keep a few packets in my backpack. I'm still got my son's backpack on. Maybe he needs them too. Right now, by the way, Drip Drop is offering Locked On listeners 20% off your first order. Just head on over to dripdrop.com and use promo code LockedOnCollege. Again, that's dripdrop.com, promo code LockedOnCollege for 20% off. Stock up now before the heat hits hard. With Luka Bogavac and Ivan Matlakovich officially getting to campus last Wednesday, that allowed Carolina to now officially release the roster for the 25-26 season, which they did last Thursday. That happened literally right as Coach Rob and I were starting to record. So we said, you know what? We'll unpack that on Monday show. So here we go. We're doing it. By the way, I'm just going to keep rocking this backpack because I feel cool. It's like, what was that guy? It was a singer. Bruno Mars, one of his singers that joined him, he always wore a backpack, so I feel like him. Okay. The single biggest takeaway from me when we get this official roster, and we'll unpack it and all the bits and pieces of it in the next segment. But right now I want to talk about the ramifications of what you see with this roster release. Last year, critically not good part of Carolina's roster construction was the lack of height. Size, right? Like, yes, we'll talk weight as well, but just Carolina just wasn't big enough. Frankly, I mean, you looked 8 miles down the road and Duke was literally by average the tallest team in the nation. Carolina, oh, by the way, I went back and looked at KenPom, was 305th in average height last year. That's out of 350, 364 teams last year, I think it was. It's just, height's not everything. But I don't care how skilled you are. If you are not tall enough, you're not going to be able to succeed at the heights you want to. Carolina had to get bigger. We knew that they were just because of the names they were getting. But now that we've got this roster officially out, you see how tall they are indeed. On last year's roster, you had multiple starters, namely RJ Davis and Elliot Cadeau, that were under 6'2". And maybe in particular, RJ's case, that was even maybe being a little bit generous. Now, on this year's roster, there is no projected rotation player at that height. Kyan Evans is listed as 6'2". Everybody else is 6'3" or taller. So, I mean, you've grown by leaps and bounds. Kyan Evans, 6'2", Zayden High, 6'10", James Brown, 6'10", Derek Dixon, 6'5", Jaden Young, 6'4", Isaiah Dennis, 6'4", Elijah Davis, 6'3", Seth Trimble, 6'3", Caleb Wilson, 6'10", Jonathan Powell, 6'6", Henri Veesaar, 7 feet tall, Jarin Stevenson, 6'10", John Holbrook, 6'8", Smith, an addition from JV, we'll talk about him, is 6'1", Ivan Matlakovich, 7 feet, and Luka Bogavac, 6'6". And remember, Luca had been listed on SC Derby as 6'5". So sounds like he's still growing, because other people had said, I think he's actually maybe a little bit shorter than what he was listed. Clearly, Carolina's listing him taller. Derek Dixon being 6'5". That's bigger than I think you had heard anywhere from 6'3" to 6'5", but him being listed there is great. Now, I guess I should note Carolina has at the bottom of the roster, note, heights listed are based on measurements wearing basketball shoes and in some cases orthotics. So that's kind of hilarious that they mention that, right? Like at the NBA Combine, notably, you do it in bare feet, whatever. However, don't be thrown off by this because every team is doing this. It's not like it's unique to Carolina for them to be measured in shoes and or orthotics. So that's what it is. Okay. When I say Carolina needed to get bigger, and they did, here's what I mean. Last year, I already said it. Let me reiterate. They were 305th in average height per KenPom in the nation last year. There is no way that is going to be true. Again, let's unpack it. Here's just like very simply. Last year, on the entire roster, there were just 2 players 6'10" or taller. That's it. Jalen Washington and James Brown. They were the only ones. This year, remember I said 2 last year. There are 6 players on the roster this year that are 6'10" or taller. Now, that's me giving you everyone on the roster. But obviously, we know it doesn't matter if all the reserves are that tall. What matters is how big are the dudes that are actually going to play. Well, so what I did was I went back and looked at last year's roster in terms of the top 8 contributors in terms of minutes per game played. And the reason I cut it there is because 2 things. One, there was a pretty big gap in minutes per game from number 8 to number 9. And also in the Hubert Davis era, we've pretty much looked at the top 8 guys are what Coach Davis has seemed to really roll with is 8. So I looked at last year's top 8, and then I projected this year's top 8. Last year's top 8, which was RJ Davis, Seth Trimble, Elliot Cadeau, Drake Powell, Ian Jackson, Van Allen Lubin, Jalen Withers, and Jalen Washington, they totaled, and this is by Carolina's roster listings, totaled 617 inches, which an average for those 8 players is 77.125 inches or 6 foot 5 1/8 inches. You contrast that with this year, and again, I'm projecting the top 8 to be Seth Trimble, Caleb Wilson, Luka Bogavac, Kyan Evans, Henri Veesaar, Jonathan Powell, Jarin Stevenson, and Derek Dixon. There's others that, like Isaiah Dennis, could easily play his way into that, maybe Zayden High, whatever. But I think right now, those are the clear-cut top 8. Last year's total inches for the top 8, 617. This year, 630. Last year's average inches for the top 8, 77.125. This year, 78.75. So that's like essentially an inch and a half average height taller than last year per every rotation player. That matters. And when you remember, I said Carolina was 305th in average height last year. If you take that average inches of 78.75, that would have made Carolina 17th in the nation last year in average height. That is a massive jump. And again, hear me say, size is not everything, but size ain't nothing. I think that might become one of my mantras for this year. Size ain't everything, but it ain't nothing. Because obviously you got to mix it with skill. Those two things have to go together. But when you take the skill that Carolina has, and I do believe this is a more skilled team than last year with the height that Carolina has, and like, it's not just a guess, like mathematically, measurably, they are bigger and taller than last year. But also we got to remember that getting bigger is not just about height. It's about weight and size as well. So sometimes that means bringing new guys in who are bigger than the guys you had last year, weight-wise. And sometimes that means your current roster getting bigger weight-wise. The best example of that, oh my goodness, is James Brown. It's funny because literally last week on the show, in last week's roster preview series, we were on James Brown. Josh Marlowe joined me. Great show. A lot of great feedback from that one. But James Brown was listed at 215 last year. And we talked, you've probably seen pictures of James Brown. Looks wildly bigger this year. And so Marlo and I were like, I mean, what is he up to, like 225, 230? How much has this dude put on? What's it going to be when they roll out the roster? And I thought that we were like oversell. I was like, 225, 230, that maybe seems big. Well, good grief, we didn't go far enough. This dude is 240 is what he's listed on the roster. So he has gained, James Brown, 25 pounds since last year's roster census date or whatever that is. And then there's some small gains too. Seth Trimble is up 5 pounds from 195 to 200. And when you think about his game and like the importance of gaining more muscle mass and getting more chiseled, what does Seth Trimble do? He barrels to the rim with reckless abandon using that athleticism. Every bit of weight he gains puts him in an infinitely better position to succeed finishing through traffic or whatever it's going to be. And when you look at just adding sheer weight, last year's heaviest player was Jalen Washington at 235. This year, there are two players bigger than that. One is Ivan Matlakovich, who, again, we don't project to play much. But think about how important that weight is that he brings to the table when he's working against a Henri Veesaar or a Jarin Stevenson in the post, right? Like that is important for Carolina. And I'm so glad they have an Ivan Matlakovich. And then James Brown, obviously bigger at 240 than that 235. So Carolina has more weight on this team to be able to work with. Jarin Stevenson, 215. Veesaar, 225. Bogavac, 215. I mean, 6'6". What was he listed? 6'6", Luca? Yes, Luka Bogavac, 6'6", 215. That dude's going to be able to use his weight to his advantage, getting to the rim, doing whatever. Again, getting bigger from a height and weight standpoint is not everything, but Carolina doing so is going to matter in a big way. Like I love that Derek Dixon's already at 200. That's great. So I'm encouraged. I hope you are too. We'll continue to see it. Now, it's not just about the height and weight measurables take away from the roster release. We also want to look about the full roster composition, jersey numbers, anything to take away from that. We'll do that coming up to wrap the show in just a second. Right after I tell you about game time. Have you ever decided at the last minute to head to a ball game with friends or family? Maybe it's game day and you suddenly realize, I want to be there. Well, that's exactly where Game Time comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last minute tickets without the stress. And with the money you save on that, you can splurge on food and drinks and merch and other cool stuff. Game Time makes it all possible. They make buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually go down the closer you get to first pitch. And they've got incredible last minute deals, clear seat views, and a lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying. And if you're stressed about scrolling to find the best possible deal, use Game Time's Zone Deals, which picks the best seats in your section for you. I recently bought tickets for my family to go see Dude Perfect. It's funny, I'm wearing the backpack. And we used Game Time, and it was perfect. It was flawless. Everything was exactly how I would want it to be from a ticket purchasing perspective because Game Time killed it. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Terms apply. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. North Carolina's 25-26 basketball roster was officially announced on Thursday, and so now we want to take a look at it. For those of you watching on YouTube, I've actually pulled up the graphic that Carolina basketball shared with these young men. There are 16 of them in total. The breakdown is 5 returners of some type, 3 freshmen, 6 transfers, and 1 international pro, and 1 new walk-on level player. Let's break it down bit by bit. The 5 returners, let's start there. We're like, 5 returners? Isaac, what are you talking about? Well, stay with me. Seth Trimble, obviously the single most important returner in terms of someone who had already been impacting the roster and the team and having, an important role with what things have been the last couple years. The other returners, James Brown, who hopefully takes that big sophomore leap. Obviously, as we just talked about, he's put on the muscle to do so. Zayden High returns after his, suspension from the team last year. Interestingly, my understanding was that part of his penalties from last year was that he was going to be a junior, lose that year of eligibility. He's currently listed as a sophomore, so I'm not sure what's going on there. We're going to have to wait to see with that. But then also returning, the other 2 returners are John Holbrook and Elijah Davis. John Holbrook was a walk-on last year. He is back this year. Elijah Davis, Coach Davis's son. He was on the team last year, but redshirted. That's why you didn't see him. But those are the 5 returners. 3 incoming freshmen, Caleb Wilson, Isaiah Dennis, and Derek Dixon. We've already profiled them in our summer roster preview series, but those are the 3 incoming guys. 6 transfers, Kyan Evans from Colorado State, Jaden Young from Virginia Tech, Jonathan Powell from West Virginia, Henri Veesaar from Arizona, Jarin Stevenson from Alabama, and Ivan Matlakovich from High Point. And then 1 international pro, I guess, is the category we would call him, is Luka Bogavac. Now, interestingly about Luca, this is probably my biggest takeaway just from the reading between the lines of the height and weight and class and all that, is Luka Bogavac is listed as a freshman. Obviously, he's not been ruled eligible yet by the NCAA. So we wait to hear about that. When he had initially committed to Carolina, my source on it had said they are hoping to have him as a junior where he's got 2 years of eligibility. I mean, honestly, the hope is that he just balls out crazy and only has 1 year at Carolina, and then he gets drafted in the lottery next year. Obviously, you'd hate to lose him, but isn't that the ideal in some ways? So anyway, he's listed as a freshman, but we'll wait to see once the NCAA clears him how much eligibility he has. And then the last grouping here is a walk-on level player, and that's Evan Smith, who was on the JV roster last year. He comes up to the varsity squad. So, man, congrats, Evan. That's got to be a cool thing for you, man. And just to have that opportunity, really super neat. I'm coming up off the JV. Speaking of which, unfortunately, because now of roster limits and all of that, the JV program won't really be able to continue on. And so we're going to do some shows about that this fall. Already started having some behind the scenes conversations with it. Coach Rob and I are kind of brainstorming a few things because this means, for example, his Milligan team won't be able to come and play Carolina's JV anymore because that's not a thing. So anyway, there's that. Speaking of walk-ons, and by the way, walk-on now is more about level of player than actual walk-on versus scholarship, because now you have 15 scholarships. And so even Evan Smith can get one of those. But the walk-on level players not back on the roster that were last year are Russell Hawkins and Dante Mayo. So, excuse me, I got like an eyelash in my eye. It's killing me. Crazy stuff, podcasting. And there we go. And so what that means is you say, Isaac, wait, I thought the roster limits were 15, but Carolina's got 16 guys. How is that possible? Remember, DSA, designated student athlete, means if there is a player who would otherwise have been on the roster but would not have been able to because of the roster limits, he is grandfathered in. So it probably means, for example, like maybe John Holbrook is Carolina has added him as a DSA. They got to work with the NCAA and all that, but something of that nature is what's going on there. Quickly, jersey numbers with these guys. Tyan Evans, as you can see if you're watching on YouTube, is number 0. That's what he was at Colorado State as well. Zayden High is number 1. He was number 1 his freshman year at Carolina as well, so keeping that. Similarly, James Brown is number 2. He was number 2 last year and keeping that. Derek Dixon is number 3. He was 3 in high school, so kept that. Jaden Young is number 4. Not sure where that comes from because he was, in his 2 years at Virginia Tech, number 3 and number 13. So there's that. Isaiah Dennis is number 5. He was number 2 at Davidson Day School, so not sure where that comes from. Elijah Davis was 6 last year. He keeps that. Same for Seth Trimble, number 7. Caleb Wilson is number 8. He was 24 at Holy Innocents, so he switches to number 8. Jonathan Powell is number 11. He was 11 at West Virginia, so hanging on to that. Same is true for Henri Veesaar and Jarin Stevenson. Henri was 13 at Arizona and will be 13 at Carolina. Jarin was 15 at Bama and will be 15 at Carolina. John Holbrook was 15 last year on the team, and he is now 25. I don't know if Jarin Stevenson got dibs on that since he's an incoming projected rotation player, but there you go. Evan Smith, the guy coming up from JV. He was number 5 on the JV. He will be 32 at with the varsity. Ivan Matlakovich is number 40. He was 40 at High Point, so he maintains that. And then Luka Bogavac is going to be number 44. Shouts to Justin Jackson. Shouts to Tyler Zeller, who was on the show recently. But Luka Bogavac was number 44 at SC Derby, his most recent team there in the ABA League. So he maintains that number. Wow. I just named 2 ACC players of the year. Luka Bogavac, ACC player of the year incoming. We're in number 44. Let's speak that into existence. Great stuff. So there's your roster, 16 players. Man, let's get it going. It can't come soon enough. Some Project 28 news, soccer results from over the weekend. The Lady Heels played on Thursday, but it was before we recorded, so didn't have that result. Unfortunately, lost 2-0 at Tennessee. Nobody scored in the first half, and then the Vols got 2 in the second. Sunday, though, Carolina avenged that. They were at home hosting Siena. It was 1-0 at halftime. They scored a goal in the 5th minute and then just rattled off 4 of them in the second half for a 5-0 victory, scored by 5 different players. Really cool stuff there. Things really start to pick up this week. Field hockey has 2 matches, volleyball, and then both soccer teams are going. So really starting to pick up the fall action. Bring it on, baby. This is great. All right, guys, thanks for joining me on a Monday to get the show back rolling for a brand new week. It's great to be back together. Luca's on campus. Ivan Matlakovich is on campus. Let's get these dudes playing. Let's get the footballs throwing, and it's going to be great. If you've not joined us on the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, we'd love to see you there. That link is in the show notes, whether you're on audio or video. It's there on both of them. You just click that, and it'll take you to where you can sign up. If you've not joined the Locked On Tar Heels Insiders and you want to go next level with the show, that's the place to do all of that. I'm a stats nerd. You know it. I keep my own stats. And you can find it free when you are a Locked On Tar Heels Insider. Also, if you haven't subscribed to the show on video and audio, we'd love to have you there as well. You guys, it's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. If you are a Tar Heel, happy first day of class. Hope it goes really well for you. We'll talk again tomorrow. But until then, peace.